You're listening to Travel Tales with Virgil.
I'm going to talk to him about the craic because whenever we go skiing, basically each day our day gets shorter.
So that's what I love, because the body can't take too much of the skiing, whereas you still want the craic. Yeah, oh, that's brilliant.
That was me telling Tara that I'm going to be bringing Sean on to have a talk about all things Après Ski. So whether it's the Gluhwein or a hot chocolate to warm the hand and hearts after coming down off the mountain, there's nothing like that contented feeling when sharing stories of that day's exploits and the giddy expectation for the night ahead. The fun for Après Ski after a long day on the slopes is one of the great joys of a ski holiday. This bonus episode is an appreciation of all things Après, from the craic to the fun bars and restaurants to the great resorts for Après. This is an extended interview from the ski special with my sidekick Sean. I hope this episode conveys that giggly Après feeling. This is the perfect antidote for you if you like a good laugh. So if you find you laugh when other people are laughing, then this is the episode for you. What's magic about Après? The Après ski, the atmosphere, the town, all part of it.
100% it is.
They'll talk about the season.
Yeah.
And, so you don't need to get technical.
No, I won't. That's the last thing I'm going to do. No. No.
And so what so what I basically, as you know, like skiing,
the social
not only. Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sean, you're very welcome to the podcast. Before we get into talking about your favorite topic, which is Après Ski, just to get into the mood, I've got a little glass of Bailey's here to feel like we're actually on the slopes.
Well, I've got a nice Merlot, so I think I'm doing good. I think I'm doing well.
More importantly, off the slopes, because this podcast, this episode, the ski special, is talking about skiing, but I would believe, and I think you'd agree with me, that Après Ski and the social aspects of skiing are very much part of it, aren't they?
Very much so. I think for me personally, it's the opportunity to get together with old friends, and you and I know each other since childhood, and it's an opportunity to catch up between wives and kids and work and life in general. For me personally, it's the most important part of skiing, is catching up with your friends. And I know obviously there may be an indulgence here and there, but it's great meals, good bit of laughing, and I enjoy that. I love it. It's an escape for me, and that's really where I get the joy out of skiing, quite frankly.
And actually, if you think about it, we sort of revert to our teenage selves when we're on the slopes, don't we?
Yeah, tendency is that. Yes, I think the beauty of being in the fresh air and at altitude is something that gives you a certain sense of zest. And then you realize, wait a second here, I'm here with my oldest buddies and we're just going to have a good time and let's enjoy it. And the skiing becomes secondary for me. It's kind of like, all right, let's get down the mountain. No big deal.
And so what I've noticed is there's a trend when we ski, and I think people will relate to it in the Après Ski, is as the ski week goes on, we spend less and less time on the mountain.
Yeah, it becomes, I noticed the fog's coming in on Wednesday, Thursday, and also you're like, oh, you know what? After breakfast, I'm thinking we might as well just put the skis up near the pub or whatever we're going, and just leave it there for the day. No, I think, yes, you're right. I think there's a look, it's again, there's a selfishness to it, because you have an opportunity to be solely with people who are your friends and you want to be with, and you get into your own little groove and you have laughs and you have great food and plenty of drink. And that there's a certain, I guess, those are the moments in life that you appreciate who's around you. And those are the treasures that I personally find very rewarding. And why not? And I can go up and down a mountain, no problem. I used to snowboard when I was a kid, and I gave it up when my knees started giving out. But then I switched to skiing, and because I didn't know how to ski, but I played ice hockey. Skiing wasn't a big deal. It didn't take that much, and I'm low to the ground, so it doesn't take a lot for me to just get down a mountain. And I'm like, okay, that's done. Let's take these ski boots off and go to the pub, and I do enjoy it, and I do.
There's nothing like that feeling. Actually, now you say it, I kind of give a little satisfied sigh there when I think that feeling at the end of the day, or with us, the middle of the day, where you take those ski boots off, and you just give your toes a little wiggle, and maybe put on like runners or sandals or something.
It's such a relief almost, and it's almost like it's like going for a run. It's great to do it. You feel great, but when you get home, you hop in the shower, you feel dynamite once that's over, and it's a look. Skiing is a great sport. It's for people who, and I enjoy it. It's fun, but I do really treasure the moments that we get together and have a bit of crack,
And you know what my catchphrase is? Like, what could you tell me what my catchphrase is at the end of every day when we're up the mountain?
Oh, hang on.
Will I tell you?
Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
So my catchphrase is you never do the last run.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's yeah. Yeah, that's okay. But you say that like at the first run, like that's why I was like, "What's the last one?" No, you're right. That is your catchphrase. Sure. It looks like the sun's coming down. Oh, geez, the fog's coming in. The clouds are coming in.
That last run, that's when the injuries happen. We have a friend, Gordon, like who always insists, like if you do the last run, then he'll do the next run.
Yes,
so he has pitch dark.
And for it's amazing how there's a little bit of apprehension in me when it comes to the last run, because maybe it's just a superstition or whatever, but I do believe in that. So I'm always like, okay, fair enough. That's enough and you and I definitely go, okay, that's enough. Let's go down and we'll call it a day.
But you know what? If you think of skiing holiday, what I think of, like particularly when you're away with a bunch of mates, your memory, you remember the ski runs and the skiing. But equally as powerful a memory, I'm sure, my memory with you is, munching some cheese, with a glass of wine.
Yeah, of course.
Some grapes.
Yeah.
Watching the sun going down over the mountains going, this is the life. True?
It is. Of course.
And we were in a bigger high than going down a black slope.
It was
a good quality cheese.
Good quality cheese, and wondering what kind of dreams we were going to have later on. Yeah, I think that's the joy of what skiing brings to people's experience, is that you get time with your friends, your dear friends, and you get to enjoy great food, great wine, great drink, and just have time together, because as you get older, it's limited. We all have obligations. We all have family. We all have work. We all have, different obligations in our lives. And it's something that you have those moments, and I do treasure it. And I think that's what's important. And then sometimes you run into random acts, I remember that time when we ran into, we had a couple of us, and we were, I think it was Verbia, and and I went to get, I think there must have been about 10 of us, and it was my turn to get the round, and I was calling the round, and what the side of the pub that I went to, the sort of wonderful place we were at, and I remember the roof opened up, that retractable dome almost. It was really cool. And the band would play, everything was going on.
The snow coming through the roof.
Yeah,
people
it was
dancing
amazing.
on top of the bar.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so I said, okay, my time to get the round. So I went over, and I saw these guys, a lot of English lads and stuff, and there was it kind of looked a bit more formal than usual. But anyways, I was going up, and I ordered my 10 pints, and I remember, I'm vertically challenged, so there was a lot of taller lads around me. And I got up to the pub and to the bar, and I said, 10 pints. And so they started to hand it back. And this young guy, which always happens, there's always somebody nice, he starts handing them back to me. And I'm looking at him going, wait a second, that guy looks really familiar. And I noticed all these other other dudes standing around, and he kept handing it back. And I said, oh, that's Prince Harry, the redhead, the tall lad.
Yeah.
And so he starts handing them back, and he thinks he's only giving me 2 or 3, right? So I go over and rally them back to you guys, and I come back again. There's 3 more, boom, and there's 3 more, And he's going, what? He goes, I think there's 1 more. And I says, yeah, that's mine, right? So he just goes, fair play to you, and it was just one of those moments in your life where you're going, wow. And I did notice some security people around and his friends. and he was such a gentleman, and he was just nice. He was just a regular lad. Like, it was no big deal. But it was one of those moments you're going, okay, wow, that's that Prince guy. And that was it.
And that's Verbier, because I've been in that same bar where Lawrence Talalio was sitting up at the bar stool, and he had actually been in my bar like a month previously in Clonmel.
Yeah.
So I went up to him, and I introduced myself, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Like, as if he knew me. Yeah. I say, no idea who I was. Yeah. But it was pretty standard. Verbier is a pretty glitzy place, isn't it?
Well, you think of Clonmel, and right there is Verbier.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt at home,
Yeah. I think
so. We've been to Saint Anton as well, haven't we?
Yeah. Yes, we have. Yeah, Saint Anton is beautiful.
And I always associate there with the bar, with that last run in the day. The Moose Bar, I think it's called, which is the biggest bar. They say that it has the most lager sales during that period in all of Europe.
Really?
There could be 1,000 people there.
That's true. It's huge. It is huge.
But the tricky part then is the skiing down afterwards, because you're halfway down the mountain.
Yeah.
You have a few beers, and then you got to ski back down. And
that's why you have a sandwich.
Get
something to eat, you'll be sorted. Yeah. But it's. I think it's the culture of it all that people realize, and I think people predominantly there's very good nature. People are out to have a good time. There's no pushing and shoving and nonsense. And like I said, at that time when I went, I got a pretty big round of pints or whatever, and those guys were just patting me on the back, passing them back. And Harry was, he was very nice, and I think at the end he realized that I recognized who he was, and I just said to him, thanks, and he said, you're more than welcome. He was a gentleman, and I think that's sort of the attitude that people have. And I would have done it for other people if I was in front of the bar or whatever. And I think that's the nice attitude that people have. That you're all there to have a good time. There's no chips on shoulders that I've ever run into. And the other thing is when you think about it, the food that we've had in some of these places, it's been tremendous.
It's true.
Great restaurants, and it's a big. For me, it's for anybody going on a ski trip. It's an expense. It's a true holiday. But if you're going to go to that level, you might as well enjoy it.
Completely. I remember one particular restaurant in Meerhofen. We got a recommendation from the Bananti in the house we were staying in, and we trudged ended up going through snow, practically up into a forest in the edge of town to this, log cabin. And we arrived in.
All the dead animals on the walls and everything.
Exactly.
Like, are we going to be next?
It was a real McCoy. We had our own room. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was fabulous.
And maybe it was just the fact that we had to trudge through the snow. But that, I would say, was probably the nicest meal I ever had. I had venison, and I'll never forget it. And the red wine.
It was tremendous. It was tremendous.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think the authenticity of having to literally chop through the snow and get there, and the effort to take it. And then we got there, and there was so many animals' heads on the walls and stuff. I was getting a bit nervous. And I said, wait a second. No, but it was one of the best meals I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely amazing. And we had our own room, and it was a banquet. It was like a Viking thing.
Exactly.
It was
and Austria is very much like that, isn't it? Austria versus...
Oh, yeah. What was that place in Austria we went to with...
Kitzbühel? Were you in
Kitzbühel? Remember the... they were dancing on the tables and all. My buddy from Boston flew over for that weekend.
Oh, was that... Okay. Was that Kitzbühel, was it?
Yeah.
Or was...
Do you remember that?
Was that
Patrick Reardon flew over for the weekend, literally from Boston for the weekend. And wasn't that Kitzbühel? Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Was that the one where the guys were opening the champagne with swords?
Singing, and all the Austrian guys were singing the songs, and they were the Oompa Oompa songs, and we were like, okay, this is how they march across Europe.
And what did Patrick think of it then, being American?
He loved it. He thought it was, well, first of all, he just, fair play to him for making it over just for the weekend. But he thought he thought the sociability of what we were doing was much more. He said that in America it was much more about how many runs did you do? Yeah. What difficulties? It was a much more competitive in a way, and maybe just amongst his buddies that's the way they do it. And for us, it was much more sociable. He loved that because he's a great skier. Yeah. And when we were the Austrians started singing all those songs, which is great. It adds to I'm sure it's for people that come to Ireland and they hear us in a pub and we start kicking off and singing songs and having a bit of crack. And if you're visiting, that's what it feels like. And it's a good feeling because then you feel like you can enjoy it and there's a bit of fun going on, you know. That's the good thing.
Actually, that's what I felt like. I felt like we were observers and we were sitting watching other people having a party. And I love that.
Yes.
I enjoy that as much as being in the party.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what it must feel like for people when they come to Ireland and you're in, let's say you're in Doolin or you're in Ballyvaughan or you're in Lahinch or you're in Ennis and you're touring Ireland and you've never been to Ireland before. And all of a sudden there's a session going on and there's music in the corner and people start singing from all different ages and backgrounds. And you're looking at that going, wow, this is amazing. You know, and that's our culture, and that's what we bring to the human experience as a culture. And it was wonderful to be in these places and to see that authenticity. You know, it was wonderful. It was really nice.
And I like to think that we bring that to the ski slopes as well.
In a way, yeah. If I only had my bower on.
When you come down from the mountain and you get the boots off, and then you go to the bar or a restaurant, and you have it's either like it could be a hot chocolate, or it could be a Gluhwein, or it could be a cold beer. Yeah. But there's nothing like that first drink after a day on the mountain, and your legs are tired, and you're content.
Yes.
Would you agree?
There's a sense of fulfillment because you've done something that not only exerted you physically but also mentally, getting down a mountain safely and enjoying it and have a bit of crack. But it's that sense of accomplishment, I think. And you could be having a nice hot chocolate or, a Gluhwein, or you could be having a beer or whatever it is. But it's that sense that you've done something successfully.
You're alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think, that's true. Because when you're up at those
and you're
heights,
giddy, you know what I mean? I love that giddy. Yeah. Giddy. You've left the gear away. You're still in your gear, but the boots are off. And it adds to it if you're still in the gear. And, when you're up the mountain, what I love is that, you're not thinking about work or you're not thinking about anything, any issues. All you're thinking about is getting down the mountain, getting down that run.
It does concentrate the mind. And I think,
and freeze it at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation. I think it's that sense of, maybe it's the caveman instinct of just pure survival that kicks in. And you can't think of anything else but getting down the mountain safely and making sure that, you're there to tell the tale. And that relief when you're sitting at you're having your hot chocolate or you're having your beer or whatever you're doing, you have that. There's an exertion. There's an exertion that ends up with a wonderful sense of calm. It's a wonderful sense of calm and relief. No, I don't know if it's relief as much as calmness and success. You're proud of yourself for tackling the mountain, because when you're up at those heights, you look around and there's a straight line straight down. Especially some of those black runs. They're pretty straight down. And
even you think of Verbier, like it's famous for its off-piste, and it's funny. But Warren Smith from Verbier, who's also on the podcast, his WhatsApp photo is the Tortan off-piste run.
No, he did
and
it?
I got a bit of a shiver because I remember the last time I was on that, I was going down it with our friend Finney.
It was like,
all I saw was skis and poles. The last thing he said to me was,
you guys.
The last thing he said to me was, "You don't have a Panadol."
That would have helped.
It's a straight off-piste drop.
It's
1,000 meters.
It's straight down. And I don't know how you guys did that, because I remember being down at the bottom of I remember looking up, going, "Could that be them? Could that be them?" And it's scary as you know what, and it is straight down. And you guys did it. The two of you did it. I love the fact that Finney did ask for a Panadol. They're like, just. Yes, if that will help. You guys are going straight down the side of a cliff, but you guys did it, and hats off. I remember I was sitting there waiting for you, and I was just very impressed. And you achieved something, and that's a personal accomplishment. And you guys should feel good about that, because you overcame maybe a fear, you overcame a challenge to say the least, but it was straight down, man. That was like a wall.
The next time that we do manage to get onto the slopes, whenever that is, I can't wait for just a gentle, say a run like in Morzine or Leger or something, a gentle run.
Yeah. And
a couple of gentle runs.
Yeah, just to bring back the confidence, but at the same time, there's nothing more enjoyable than knowing that you have the confidence to get down the mountain nice and easy, nice and slow, and nice and calm, and just enjoy it. And the fresh air and the scenery and being with your friends, nothing better. And there's nothing better. Yeah.
And I have to say, Leger, what I particularly love about there is when you're coming down, there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
You know, like say in Verbier, it's quite bare. You know what I mean? If you think about it.
Yeah, it's very.
But in Leger, you're going through trees on either side.
Yeah.
So it has that cliched alpine feel about it.
Yeah, and that does remind me of the States, of the runs that you get in the United States, because they would have a lot of trees and there'd be narrow paths that you'd go through, but you'd have that sort of pine trees and it's really scenic and nice. And it
you
is.
Must love that.
Yeah.
In America, those narrow paths.
Yeah. I think that's looking over a cliff edge on a narrow path is one of my biggest fears.
Actually, if I could just give a tip for listeners, if they want to see Sean, like just say you're on a ski slope sometime and you think, do I recognize that voice? If you hear like an Irish American cursing, going through one of these narrow paths, that's a good chance it's Sean.
Yeah, I believe that that you can manage your rage during these sessions, but it's sometimes and that's the challenge of skiing too, is you're challenging yourself and you're dealing with your fears, and I would be, and that's that sense of fulfillment that you talked about earlier, is that when you get down to the bottom and you sit there with your friends and you take the boots off and your feet are nice and comfy and you're having that hot chocolate or that glass of beer or whatever, you just feel you've accomplished something, which is a wonderful feeling,
So my last question for you is, when you do that, you because normally when you're going down the mountain, it is paths towards the end. It is quite narrow often, and it's hard going and it can be icy. So when you do get down that mountain, have you ever had a hot chocolate?
No, never. No.
Because you keep mentioning hot chocolate.
I have.
I don't ever remember you drinking hot chocolate.
No, I just think in the morning I'd like to do it, but that never comes around. That never happens. So it's my intention. It's definitely I have good intentions to go. I'd like to see what it tastes like. That's all.
Yeah. I remember, just to finish up, our last time skiing, it was our last day skiing, and we went up the mountain and a kind of a fog was coming down. And this was like 10 or 11. Yeah. And we were like, no, not happening. Too dangerous. You don't want to do the first run of the day. So we went straight back down the mountain and into a restaurant for lunch. And then just as we're ordering our wine and our food, the clouds, the mist starts to disappear and the mountain starts to clear up. And I'm looking up the mountain and I go to you, Jesus, I think it's okay now to go skiing. You're like, no. Above eye level, it's still fog up there.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it. That's why we're here to tell the tale. That's why we're here to tell the tale, because we made a wise choice. You listen to my advice.
Don't do the last run of the day.
Exactly.
Or on your last day, the first run.
Yeah. Potentially. That's
my new version.
That potentially could be an option. That's correct.
I would ask if you could please subscribe to Apple Podcast so a new episode will appear in your library every week. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps others to discover this podcast. To find out who's on every Tuesday, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Tales with Fergal. Stay safe and keep dreaming of future travels.
Travel Tales with Fergal.